Hi, everyone, and welcome to a brand new episode of Full Court Podcast with your host, Orazio and Giorgos. So we are entering the most important moment of the Euroleague season because soon we're going to have the Final Four in Belgrade. Now we know all the four teams that there's going to be there, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Anadolu Efes, and Olympiacos. And, the last few playoff games, they've been very, very exciting, very, very entertaining to watch. And to kind of make a quick recap of what happened in those last few games of the playoff series and to try to understand what might happen in the Final Four in Belgrade. My guest for this week is my colleague at BasketNews.com, Giorgos Kyriakidis. Giorgos, welcome back.
Nice to be able to speak with you once again. Third time this season, if I'm not mistaken.
Orazio. Yeah, now you're officially the record holder for this podcast. So.
Good for me.
Yeah. I decided to talk with Giorgos again this week because Giorgos followed for our website the series between Olympiacos and Monaco, which was probably the most exciting one of the playoff. He went to Game 5. It was a really fun to watch. The atmosphere was absolutely crazy, and we also had some sight scenes of very big stars with Kevin Durant and Emma Stone being there for Game 5. Kevin Durant was also present at Game 4 in Monte Carlo. So it was, I think, a very, very good show, for the EuroLeague and for the playoffs to keep that level really, really high. And to start the conversation with Giorgos, of course, I wanted to ask you a little bit about that Game 5 because it was a really, really entertaining game. Monaco fought until the very end. They were there very close, 1 minute and a half. The game was absolutely on the line. But in the end, Olympiacos was able to take the win. Kostas Loukas came clutch as he often does. That's what Kostas Loukas does. That's what players like Kostas Loukas do. But absolutely hats off to Monaco because they played a great series. They forced a Game 5. They weren't supposed to be here, to be honest. At the beginning of the season, definitely Monaco wasn't among the contenders for a playoff spot. So what I wanted to ask you, Giorgos, is what did you see? What were your impression about this Game 5? And for you, as a Greek reporter, also, what does it mean for Olympiacos that they haven't been to the Final Four in a while now?
Yes. It's very important for the Olympiacos organization in terms of management, players, fans. I would say I would prioritize fans above everyone in this case. So let's get to Game 5 to see what happened. I think that Olympiacos entered the court keeping in mind that Mike James should be off tune, out of game rhythm, by keeping the same defensive approach as Olympiacos had done throughout the whole series. They decided to send James to his left hand, letting him dish out assists at will, I would say, from the strong side in most cases, and placed their big man, Mustafa Fall or Hassan Martin. Parenthesis, it was Martin's first playoff appearance in Game 5 because he was injured in the first 4 games. And the big men were placed, I would say, higher than usual on the court. As in previous games, this meant that the player who was guarding on the weak side came closer to the basket, leaving the player in the corner open. That player was Yakuba Ouattara, who had a huge contribution in Game 5 and also in Game 2. And he did the most of the damage for Monaco. After Mike James, of course, read the game, he handed out 6 assists, of which Monaco scored 17 points. He eventually finished Game 5 with 24 points on 6 of 17 from the field, plus 10 assists, of which Monaco got another 27 points. That's a huge number. Apart from Ouattara, who was an important factor, Paris Lee also presented a constant perimeter threat throughout the whole series for Monaco. He was solid on defense. He was very aggressive, without any hesitation offensively. he either created for himself through pick and roll situations or executed in spot up situations. For Olympiacos, as you said, Orazio, of course, Kostas Loukas was the go-to guy in the last minutes, as we expected from him to be. That's what Coach Obradov stressed at least 2 times during the series, both at Monaco and Monte Carlo, the games 3 and 4. Also, after Game 5 in the post-game presser, he said that Loukas was the player with the most experience of all the players staying on the court for more than 30 minutes, including Mike James or Dwayne Bacon. By the way, I think that Bacon had a tremendous run throughout the whole year, I would say, both the regular season and the playoffs, and his stock has raised immensely, and I think that he will be the, let's say, more coveted Monaco player ahead of next summer. Okay, Mike James is an obvious case, of course. Apart from those mentioned earlier, Shaquille McKissick scored 18 points, proving that he can transform his game in home games, I would say, but because he was the one who kept Olympiacos in the game in the crucial first half with his vertical play and excellent shooting. McKissick is a rare case, or not so rare case. It depends on how you look at it. He's a player who averaged 33% from 3 overall during the season, but he was shooting 45% in games held in Piraeus. So after he hit a couple of threes, he got into rhythm, he felt comfortably, he kept scoring, he dropped 16 out of his total 18 points in the second quarter only. Another important factor for Olympiacos was Thomas Walkup, because Monaco chose many times to play under in the pick and roll that Walkup was involved in, allowing him to shoot. The American guard often chose not to be so aggressive, looking for his teammates or just dribbling the ball without any consequences, I would say, for Monaco's defense. In Game 5, and especially in the third quarter, he decided to change this mindset and taking more attempts. He got to score 17 points, but when Monaco had taken a 7-point lead, as the hosts had scored only 7 points over 4 minutes, Walkup almost single-handedly, I would say, brought Olympiacos back to contention. Because in a succession of plays, he first drained a three-pointer, he made a layup off his own defensive rebound, and finally he trapped Andrusic's half-court to steal the ball and dunk for the equalizer. He was very, very important, raising virtually all of his numbers. If you see what Walkup had done in the regular season and what he did in the playoffs, it's like looking at a completely different player.
Yeah. And of course, we mentioned several players that were very important factors for both teams during the series. But if you have to, let's say, pick up an MVP of the series, especially for Olympiacos, for you, Giorgos, who would that be?
Thomas Walkup, in my opinion, in this series. Look, the player that I didn't mention earlier was Tyler Dorsey. Dorsey is another interesting case, I would say. In the first 4 games combined, he scored 8.5 points on average. Dorsey's biggest problem lied in his low percentage and the bad decisions he made. He has a specific role of being a shooter and a scorer, so he's inevitably judged mainly by how many points he will score and how well he'll shoot the ball. But Giorgos continued to trust him, and instead of parking him on the bench, he chose to help him improve. Dorsey was not ungrateful, as it turned out, and during Game 4, he was reportedly wandering in the locker room what was going on, and he couldn't score some easy points, some easy shots. And his teammates tried to lend him a helping hand by boosting his confidence, and it eventually paid off in Game 5. He scored 16 points in that game. But going over to Walkup, I think that his defensive hustle became the beacon, the example for his teammates, because Walkup not only scored some points that I think the average Olympiacos fan wouldn't expect him to do. He averaged 11.2 points throughout the whole series, which is impressive compared and as opposed to 5.4 in the regular season. He raised his shooting percentages impressively, especially from behind the three-point arc. He also improved on his assist turnover ratio over the course of this 5-game series. And he took, I would say, a giant leap forward, becoming maybe his team's most influential players on both ends, because he also stopped Mike James, which is equally as important, I would say. James went 2 from 10 from behind the arc in Game 5. He was shooting badly in the whole series. He got to hit some free throws, especially in the games held in Monte Carlo in Games 3 and 4. But down the stretch, I think, and with the exclusion of an impressive three-point shot that kept Monaco in the game, his impact was not as one would expect of him.
Yeah, and during that Game 5, it looks like Thomas Walkup made also Emma Stone happy, because she had some great reaction to a couple of buckets from Thomas Walkup. And returning a little bit on this point, the fact that in Athens for Game 5 there were both Kevin Durant and Emma Stone present in the arena. It was kind of expected for Durant to be there after being in Game 4 in Monte Carlo, but it was at least for me, it was definitely more surprising to see Emma Stone there. I don't know if maybe there were already some rumors about the possibility of her being in the arena before the game, or
no, none at all. It's a chapter in its own right, how Durant and Emma Stone got into Game 5, and how they experienced the game. I mean, Durant visited the Gaston Medecin for Game 4. And this time he was reportedly expected to sit next to Vasilis Panoulis. It turned out he didn't, but didn't really matter. L'Equipe had the exclusive, I would say, the exclusivity on this issue ahead of Games 4 and 5, because there was no info from Olympiacos directly regarding Kevin Durant's presence, and not to mention Emma Stone's. Okay, Emma Stone, if one could read through the press, the Greek press, was expected for Emma Stone to be in Greece. She was in Athens, but no one expected to see her watching Olympiacos game up close, seated next to Giorgos Lanthimos, who's an Academy Award nominee. He directed Emma Stone 3 years ago, and now they had a short film together, and there was a presentation the day after Game 5. So Olympiacos fans got to see Emma Stone, got to make some photos with Kevin Durant during halftime. It was impressive, especially those having the privilege to occupy one of the VIP seats, because Durant was sitting courtside in Game 4, and in the VIP seats in Game 5 was higher. But the Olympiacos fans, it's another topic, I would say. Apart from watching Emma Stone, apart from watching Lanthimos, Kevin Durant, and so on, they were the protagonists themselves when everything was over. By invading the court. I think that this court invasion is a tradition that holds sway in Greece and has held sway in Greece for ages. One that cannot simply erase or forget simply by 2 years of COVID restrictions. In Greece, COVID vaccination certificates are no longer required for fans to enter the arenas. That's very important, because we saw many Olympiacos fans, the die-hard fans, be present at the Peace and Friendship Stadium almost 90 minutes before tip-off, and that's unprecedented, I would say, in this season. That has never happened. So the videos and the images circulating across the internet depicting fans literally dancing, jumping around with each other, with ecstatic play with Barjokas giving the tune to fans to celebrate, will be all souvenirs of a night to remember. It's ironic that Euroleague was quick to condemn everything that happened on Wednesday night, the lasers, the flares, the invasion, everything. And almost 24 hours later, the governing authority of the Euroleague imposed a 53,000 euro plus one, of course, fine on the Reds, accompanied by one game behind closed doors. Okay, I think that's probably a way more lenient punishment that even the most fanatic of Olympiacos fans would hope for, in any case.
Yeah, and I think they will be just fine, considering that the team will go to Belgrade with that kind of sanction. So
they
now,
were expecting like a 3 or 4 games. Okay,
yeah,
some of them.
One is a walk in the park. Yeah,
Yeah.
And
One's nothing.
Yeah,
especially if the game is held in Crete, as it happened some years ago when Olympiacos were also sanctioned.
Yeah. And now, of course, moving on a little bit to the Final Four that will be in Belgrade. Now we have, of course, a clear picture of those two games. We will have the Spanish El Clásico in the semifinal between Barcelona and Real Madrid. And on the other end, we will have the other semifinal between Anadolu Efes and Olympiacos. So, Giorgos, considering that now we have the pairings set, from Olympiacos' standpoint, do you think that the matchup against Anadolu Efes, is it kind of like good for them, or maybe, it would have been better to have a matchup against Barca or Real Madrid? How do you see the situation from that perspective?
I don't think it makes any difference to Olympiacos. There's no clear favorite, in my opinion, to win this Final Four. On paper, Barcelona would be my number one choice had this discussion taken place a month ago or so, or 2 months ago. Now I think everyone's chances are almost the same, more or less. I dare to say that if Olympiacos get past Efes, they can win it. Although the team that will survive the Spanish Clásico might be projected as the favorite, I guess. As coaches say, the most difficult game in a Final Four is the semifinal. Real and Barca went against each other, if I'm not mistaken, 3 times in 96, 2013, 2014 also. So the pressure, the exposure, the level of mental, physical toughness required in a Spanish Clásico and a Spanish derby are so high that can render the winner drained with exhaustion after such a harsh battle. That's not to say that Efes Olympiacos will be an easy call to make, because the reigning champs are a far more experienced team than the Reds, and their 2 regular season games show that they could and should be able to win if they play, according to their standards. At this point, having Rodrigue Beaubois and Bruno Simon healthy is absolutely essential for Ergin Ataman, because I saw some statement of his saying that the 2 are in doubt, at least for now. I saw that Andrea Trinchieri called Ergin Ataman Vittorio Gassman of basketball.
That was a great quote.
I think it's a reference to how over the top, to how larger than life and sometimes presumptuous, I would say, Ataman can become. In one of Gassman's most famous, certainly best films, whose Italian title is Il Sorpasso, which in English translates into The Overtaking. Although its English title is The Easy Life. Okay, anyway. The main character is a bit frivolous, superficial, middle-aged man who takes a shy law student with him for a 2-day road trip from Rome to Tuscany. The trip ends in tragedy, largely because of his carelessness. I mean, Ataman is a coach who strongly believes in his players. He believes in his team, and he wastes no opportunity of showing it. Olympiacos players, staff, management are fully aware. They've already spoken about that, of what Ataman has said, or of what he might say from now on. And I will tell you this, they're biding their time to give some answers. On the court, of course. They're not so much into talking anyway. The fact that this season doesn't exactly mark Efes' high point in the competition, I would say. They were better, in my opinion, last year or the year before. Doesn't prevent Ataman or his player from aspiring to another Euroleague win. No one can say that. But in the case things don't turn out for the best, like in Ataman's way, I think that the Turkish coach will be more or less exposed, let's say, as Gassman's character was in that marvelous Italian film. But I guess that Ataman is already aware of that. Another thing I would add to the discussion is the MVP talk. It's an ongoing discussion which will keep after the MVP is announced. I mean, in my opinion, it's Mirotic hands down, but Mike James had a decent series against Olympiacos, but couldn't pull off the upset. Overall, I'd say, as we mentioned earlier, that Wayne Bacon was in my view, Monaco's MVP in that series, leaving James to second place. Of course, if it hadn't been for him, Game 5 would have ended up in Olympiacos' favor a lot sooner.
Yeah.
Hadn't been for James.
Yeah, I agree.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and that's probably, the fact that, of course, Mike James won't play in the Final Four, that will count against him in the voting for the MVP. So most likely, I agree that Nikola Mirotic, as of right now, is the clear favorite to win that award because, of course, Barcelona will be in the Final Four. And that's an element that really counts in that voting decision. Although you have a point in saying that probably for Monaco, the real MVP of the series was Dwayne Bacon. Despite the fact that Mike James did pretty well, Bacon was probably a little bit more consistent over the series in his performances. And Coach Trinchieri also had some nice words about Bacon, saying that he has probably the best first step of the entire EuroLeague. With the Final Four in Belgrade now, Giorgos is expected to have a big presence from Olympiacos fans. Apparently, they already bought half of the tickets that were available for the Final Four. So that's probably something that will count, right? Like the fact that there's probably gonna have a very familiar atmosphere for Olympiacos. Having that kind of support probably could be a bit of a booster for them heading into the Final Four.
Yeah, absolutely. When EuroLeague made clear that the Final Four wouldn't be hosted in Germany, but in Belgrade, I think Greek fans received the news with a smile on their face. Olympiacos were eliminated by Zalgiris in 2018 in the playoffs. Now they're given a chance to have a shot at the trophy, let's say. Yeah. Since there's no Maccabi, there's no Fenerbahce. Of course, there's no Panathinaikos anymore around, and Olympiacos fans are expected to dominate the stands at the Stark Arena by default, I would say, because Greeks are eager to travel by plane, by train, by car, by any means available or necessary, by land, by air, by sea also to get there. It has been, I would say, a catastrophic season for Greek basketball because each and every team came up short in European competitions, in the EuroLeague, in the Eurocup, in the BCL, in the FIBA Euro Cup, you name it. And Olympiacos was a reminder of the good recent, not so old, let's say, times until 2017-18, when the opponents didn't surrender to their Olympiacos' superior talent, but rather to their tenacity and persistence. Now, I think that fans realize that Olympiacos do stand a chance of getting that trophy for the fourth time in their history. Of course, they're not the favorite, but apart from '97, I think there hasn't been any single Final Four in the past where Olympiacos were really the favorite. Neither in 2012. When they played Barcelona in Cheska, nor in 2013 when they played again Real Madrid in the final and they crushed Cheska Moscow in the semi-final. Belgrade is quite near, I would say, to Greece, to Athens, to Thessaloniki, there's the fraternity between the fans of Red Star, of Crvena Zvezda, and Olympiacos, which is a well-known case, dating back to football, when Red Star had come to Athens to play Panathinaikos, and there were Olympiacos fans in the stands who had bought some tickets to support their Serbian friends back then.
And now, it remains to be seen only what's going to happen, of course, in Belgrade, if we will see the fists of Coach Ataman, as you already stated, that in Belgrade they will see again those fists, or if there will be some other endings at the end of the day for the teams involved. But of course, it was It was very good to have Giorgos here for this discussion about the ending of the EuroLeague playoffs and what might happen in the Final Four in Belgrade. So thank you very much, Giorgos, for your contribution and for jumping in.
Thank you, Orazio, for the invitation, as always.
And before we finish, of course, I wanna remind you that Full Court Podcast is also available in the audio version on Spotify and all the other major streaming platforms whenever you usually listen to your podcasts. And of course, the full format of the show, it can always be found on our website, BasketNews.com, and on our YouTube channel. So thank you very much for watching us. And with you, basketball fans, we're going to see you very, very soon. Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone.